Prison of Grass, Canada from a Native Point of View by Howard Adams. Preface. The initial stimulus for this book came from my awareness of myself as a Métis who had witnessed in a Métis colony the forces of colonization in all dimensions. Therefore, the perspective of the book is essentially Indigenous. I attempt to examine history and autobiography and their intersection with colonization. The intentions of the book are to unmask white supremacy that has dominated Native history, and to construct an authentic Indian Métis history. A major focus is the Native people's struggle, as dictated by their oppression and exploitation. The book also reveals the infamous record of the federal government in suppressing the Native people of Canada. Such interpretation is entirely missing from published materials on the history and issues of Indians and Métis. White social scientists have written extensively on Native people, but from the perspective of ethnocentrism and white supremacy. Such ideological writings have little validity in regard to the daily lives of Indians and Métis in their colonized communities. It is known that Indigenous people are constrained by the colonizer from recording and writing their own history. In instances cited herein, government authorities fabricated documents that have been used by academics and other writers to distort the true history of Indian and Métis people. Hence, it is not only an exceedingly difficult task for us to construct an authentic Indigenous history, but it also requires an extremely prolonged period of time to reach publication. Although the book deals primarily with Indians and Métis of the Western Plains of Canada, the ideas relating to colonization apply to all Indigenous people of Third World colonies. Natives of the Plains had a unique historical development, which was based on the specific factors of fur trade and mercantilism. 400 years of imperialism. Colonization and racism are dealt with in reference to their denigrating impact on Indigenous people. Systemic colonization is analyzed in order to show how it operates to conquer and methodically create a dependency syndrome with Indigenous people who are at the same time having their land and resources seized by imperialist invaders. In Canadian history, Métis refers specifically to the group of people who are mixed bloods, part Indian and part white. As Métis people, we did not have a choice as to whether we would be Indians, white, or in between. The dominant society defined us as a distinct subordinated racial minority. The implication of Métis is that as Native people, we live half in the white world and half in the Indian world. Most of us live largely in an obscure marginal Native society. Mainstream segregates and isolates the Métis as rigidly as it does reserve Indians. And like them, most Métis see themselves as separate from mainstream society. The second edition of Prison of Grass updates statistical data and adds some vital information that was omitted in the first edition. Rigorous editing and certain significant revisions have strengthened the arguments and given the book an added quality.